Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the Best Darn Diddly Review Show. This is a weekly podcast for anyone who loves The Simpsons or ever has loved The Simpsons, hosted by two dudes who grew up on The Simpsons and have now been podcasting about it for 11 seasons. Starting today is 12. We are kicking it off weird this season, not by choice. It's how The Simpsons chose to start their season with a Treehouse of Horror episode, which is always a special time for me. And of course, we're not making a huge change this season because joining me, as he always has and will continue to do so, your co-host with the most, Richie the Whiz Kid. How you doing today, Rich?
Yeah, we went to the table on the negotiations and, back and forth. My agent was talking with you, trying to figure this out. But, we signed the contract extension. So here we are. It's season 12. And where's my paycheck, Miles?
I'm wondering the same thing.
It's to fantasize about money. But no, this is a good jumping off point, I feel like, for a new season here. We're going to, like you said, start off a little weird. Are all three of the segments good? I don't know. That's kind of what we do here. So let me throw it back to you so we can figure out the answer to that question. The man, the myth, the clown of the sea, it is Miles.
I can't wait to find out which of these stories Richie the Whiz Kid is going to piss on today. But I will say, I think kind of jumping on to what you just said there, I do like this episode, but it's definitely not the strongest Treehouse of Horror.
No.
Lack of, I think, something that we've become accustomed to that they just didn't really do on this one is spoofing, a major horror franchise. And we just didn't really get that. You kind of loosely got, a Day of the Dead or the Birds, I guess, with the Dolphins.
Yeah.
You've got the fairy tales thing, which they've gone back to time and time again, and that was enjoyable, especially the ending joke, which was fantastic. The opening, I guess, was the closest that we got to an IP parody, and Ghost Dad is a pretty clear parody of Ghost Dad, which I wonder how that whole Cosby thing aged. But is that dead now? I don't know, but it doesn't have the Freddy Krueger. It doesn't have the Poltergeist. It doesn't have any of the horror tropes really that we've come to love in these specials.
I feel like the first story isn't a horror story at all. I feel like it's more of a comedy story, which is good because it's The Simpsons, but bad because it's Treehouse of Horror. And I also feel like since it's their 11th Halloween special, maybe there is a point where it's oh man, we got to figure out some stuff that we haven't done before, where maybe this is where they start have a little bit of issues trying to find some new creativity for these stories. And I also feel like the first and second story in this Halloween episode are just very, very rushed. And I know they have to be because they're small segments, but more so than in years past, I feel like there's not enough time for them to get any kind of great through story going on here that really catches your attention the whole time.
That's fair. I definitely think that we find often that the Treehouse of Horror episodes are rushed, and I think even the writers and creators themselves often talked about that. It's just such. You're already dealing with storytelling in 23 minutes, then to divide that by 3, then to add on some sort of extended credits, in this case. We open up this episode with a spoof of the Munsters, which is actually really fun. And we'll definitely talk about that a little bit more here. But that does take away another minute and a half of storytelling that you could, use throughout the rest of your episode. So definitely rushed. Definitely an odd way to start the season, too, honestly. It just feels weird that, the Treehouse of Horrors typically fall the 3rd or 4th episode of the season, the 5th sometimes. I want to say it's been the 2nd before, but starting out the season with a Treehouse of Horror does just feel a little bit odd. But it's just the way that the calendar bounced, and even more weird. Treehouse of Horror 11, which is the one we're talking about today, originally aired on November 1st in the year 2000.
How dare they?
Which is the first time they've ever aired. It's not the last time, but it's the first time they've ever aired the Halloween special after Halloween.
Yeah, so what happened at those? I always felt like going back to school coincided with the new season of The Simpsons starting, but like here we are in freaking November, so that's already multiple months in. What happened? I need to know.
I don't unfortunately have any insight on that.
Oh.
I'll be real. The commentary on this one, it was fine. They had some insight, but really there wasn't a ton of what I would say is podcast worthy information to share. There's just a lot of like in joking and laughing, which is always pleasant. But this episode's commentary featured the showrunner, or I'm sorry, former showrunner now, or actually there's usually crossover. So I bet that he's still technically the showrunner for this episode. I would have to, I bet they'll talk about that on the commentary when Al Jean does officially take back over. But Mike Scully, Matt Selman, Carolyn Omine, friend of the show, Don Payne, Rob Losimick, and John Frank. Oh, and Matt Groening, also a part of that apparently. But yeah, they had a lot, or they had a lot of, like I said, in joking with one another, but not necessarily a ton of actual insight for the episode itself. Right off the top, they actually talked a lot about the spooky credits, the names that they often get to do. And I think it was Matt Selman or possibly Mike Scully. Sometimes it's hard to tell exactly, but they basically talked about how at first everybody loved the spooky names and the creepy credit stuff, but the longer that you've worked for the show, the more difficult it becomes to think of like an original way to make your name silly or, spooky appropriate for Halloween. And I think that's super evident in the fact that Mike Scully's name on this one literally just says insert scary name here. Which he said that he probably wrote that thinking that he would eventually get around to it and then just decided not to.
Yeah, that works.
We do start with a spoof of the Munsters, which is really, really honestly perfect in so many ways for The Simpsons to be copying this family, even down to the grandpa and the fact that Lisa plays Marilyn, who was famously the ugly one in the Munsters because she was actually a very attractive, like blonde college-aged woman that, was an outcast amongst her monster family. But we get Homer as Herman. Obviously, that one works. We get Marge as Lillian. Bart is Eddie, who the actor who played Eddie actually previously guest starred on The Simpsons during the episode I listed as my least favorite from season 11 that I still very much enjoyed. It's the one where Apu and Manjula have octuplets. He comes in at the end on that one.
Misbehaving. For some reason,
there
I thought
you
he was
go.
on the Beyond Blunder Donut episode.
Abe is Grandpa Simpsons, plays Grandpa Munster, which is perfect. But one of the best parts about this whole gag is Lisa comes out just as herself, essentially dressed for school, and she's carrying a book, and the book is copyright law, which this right here, they're really pushing the boundaries. I mean, it's obviously homage and whatnot, but I mean, they are straight up copying the theme of the Munsters, the opening credits of the Munsters, like it's beat for beat, like exactly how that show looked, which that was one of my favorite shows to watch back when I was a kid. And you had to you had like a very limited selection of what would be on in the afternoon. And there would be a block of this and Gilligan's Island that would come on that like was just a fantastic pairing.
Especially during the summer, like that's what you saw in the afternoon, and then you'd inevitably get that Jerry Springer episode on the back end of them.
Jerry. Yeah, that wasn't the reason I was tuning in at all. But this show definitely made an impact on me, and I love seeing The Simpsons play the homage to it. It does end in a very Simpsons style, where we see the classic mob of Simpsons townsfolk, or Springfield townsfolk, I should say, coming with their pitchforks and torches, and apparently a bear trap, because that's how Bart dies. And we see that the Simpsons family is left murdered or mauled really on their front doorstep. And Lisa is just kind of like casually there, like unhinged, unharmed. And she just starts whistling and walks away, which honestly, that seems like a really odd choice, because like that would make sense if Lisa was the one that did it, or like maybe Lisa like accidentally alerted the town or something. But that almost had like a feeling that like Lisa was feeling guilty, when it's like, Lisa should probably be like crying or in some sort of trauma center right now.
Well, I think it's the thing where like you think the whole family gets killed, and then you realize, oh no, Lisa's
fine.
How do we get her off screen? Let's just nonchalantly have her whistle off.
And they pretty abruptly end this segment by stamping the Simpsons Halloween special on the screen. And we immediately cut into our first tell, which is Ghost Dad. And Richie, you already kind of commented on this one. You've already, I think, let the cat out of the bag that I don't think this was your favorite of the stories that we experienced here today.
No, I just don't think it was very horror.
Yeah.
Like I said, I feel like it was just a straight comedy.
Yeah,
we've seen Homer have out-of-body experiences before in the actual show, in the canon of the show. That's not a offbeat Halloween episode. So, it still had funny moments. I just didn't think it was a horror story.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's a completely fair assessment. And of course, the Simpsons' goal is to be funny. We both know that. We understand that is it. But we both hold the Halloween episodes, the Treehouse of Horrors, in a special place. So there's a style that we've become accustomed to at this point. And this one, I agree, it doesn't really fit in that narrative. And for one, it's spoofing Ghost Dad, which is a early 90s comedy starring Bill Cosby. It's a good movie. I enjoy that movie. It's fun to watch, but it's not a horror film. I mean, there's the sadness that a father figure dies, but it's very, very much played as comedy the entire way through. So when a comedy spoofs a horror, there's a lot of organic fun that comes from that. But when a comedy spoofs another comedy, really they're just making their own comedy at this point.
Yep. There you go. Next, they're going to do Multiplicity. I don't know.
I think they do that one at some point. I said do. Ghost Dad opens up with Homer at the breakfast table reading his horoscope, which he's a Taurus, and it says, "Today you will die."
What?
And you may get a compliment from an attractive coworker. Ooh, Lenny.
It really says die? That's unusually specific for a horoscope.
I love Marge here. Her reaction to this is this can't be right. I'll read my horoscope. So she goes, maybe I better check mine. Today your husband will die.
Ooh, scary newspaper.
And Homer's taunting it, waving it about, whatever. And it accidentally paper cuts his wrists.
Oh, paper cut.
Don't hurt me, horoscope. Oh, we immediately see that there is a lot of, I guess, coincidence maybe, or a lot of weight going behind that horoscope. As Homer leaves for work, it seems like everything is trying to kill him. As he backs out of the driveway, lightning strikes the tree in their front yard, which just misses him.
Missed me.
He taunts it, of course. He drives past a construction zone where men are working on a Planet Hollywood restaurant, and complete with a wrecking ball. The Planet Hollywood has one of those giant planet signs on it, and the wrecking ball knocks that down, causing the giant planet to land on the half of Homer's car that he isn't in. But we're talking about missing him by inches.
Stupid horoscope.
As Homer's chuckling to himself, a pickaxe from that same construction site comes smashing through his front windshield and literally sticks dead into his forehead. But Homer just smiles and continues to taunt, really.
Floopid blope.
And that is such a dumb joke, but it's honestly, I think, my favorite one of the episode. Just because Homer's so flippant at this near-death experience each time, and then he's literally got something lodged in his brain, which is clearly affecting his, motor skills and language.
That's all right. He'll probably be fine. He just needs some food.
Just pop it out, and he'll continue to be unbreakable. It's hard to kill an unbreakable man. This episode puts a lot of stress. Apparently, his kryptonite is broccoli. Oops.
I was trying not to give it away, but Miles did.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
We're catching up on the episode.
The whole segment is done in 6 minutes. I think I can spoil something right now, and it's fine.
I'm just saying, Miles, we're catching up to The Simpsons in real time, so maybe some of these episodes haven't been seen by people. You never know.
That's wild to think about. But I commend anybody listening to our podcast who hasn't seen the episode we're covering, honestly. Good for you. Hope we're doing a good job painting a picture for you.
Ooh.
The horoscope continues to be accurate at the power plant when Lenny compliments Homer. He actually says, "Hey, Homer, mind if I pay you a compliment?"
Ooh.
That sure is a good-looking rattlesnake hanging off of your arm there.
Aren't you concerned about that venom?
Homer is, again, just very, like, borderline, like, just casual or flippant about it. He's like, I'm sure he'll get tired and give up on biting me in a few hours or so.
He literally holds his arm up and it's just dangling
there. It's a rattlesnake, yeah. But back at the Simpsons home, Homer's complaining that horoscope was baloney. Nothing happened except for the pickaxe in my head, the rattlesnake bite, the testicle thing. Hey, what's for dessert?
No dessert until you eat your broccoli.
So Homer takes one bite of broccoli and immediately dies. Like, it says he chokes and dies, but he dies so quickly that it feels like, I guess they had to cut the choking sequence for time. But as soon as they get to the hospital, Dr. Hibbert has seen this before.
Another broccoli-related death.
But I thought broccoli was one of...
Oh, yes. One of the deadliest plants on Earth. Why, it tries to warn you itself with its terrible taste.
To be honest, broccoli is legit one of my favorite vegetables. I love broccoli, but I do think this joke is absolutely hilarious. And the idea that, the horrible taste should keep you away really does make me laugh.
Rod or Todd, I think it's Todd. He's not going to...
I don't want any damn vegetables.
Yeah, like he'd be proud of this scene.
Mm-hmm. So, a pretty good dark joke here. The people from the morgue or the paramedics or whoever, they're getting Homer's body, and he's already like stiff with rigor mortis or whatever, and the attendant is like, sure is easy to bag these things when they're all stiff like this. And then they look up and see that Bart and Lisa are watching their dad being like zipped into a body bag, and then they change to, very sad.
And then this is what I was referencing earlier, where you see that out-of-body experience with Homer, where he starts to go up to the gates of heaven. We've never seen him get that far in the past, to be fair.
I guess this is the first time we see him breach the... Well, he's had conversations with God.
Yeah, but I mean, usually when he breaches his own body, he's like literally right above it, just like wandering around.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. In this case, he does go and meet St. Peter, which gets him very excited. And he starts taunting down that I got to heaven before you did, Flanders. And he literally starts like mooning him and wiggling his butt.
I wouldn't celebrate so soon, Mr. Simpson. I don't see a single good deed next to your name.
Well, the thing about that, and Homer gives up and just attempts to break into heaven, but apparently heaven is protected with an electric fence.
And unlike Jurassic Park, this one's plugged in.
Yeah.
Homer, settle down. I'll give you a chance to get into heaven. You have 24 hours to go back and do one good deed.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the number of hours or good deeds.
I'm surprised that's not your favorite line.
I do like that line a lot, and it's great because it's immediately followed by a trap door opening in the cloud below him, and he just falls back to the earth. He actually falls back into his home, where Marge is mourning him, talking about how he can't believe that it was a piece of broccoli that killed you.
What the hell was I thinking?
And Homer actually picks up the broccoli, pops it back into his mouth, and then immediately dies again, having a second ghost rise out of his first ghost, going back up to the gates of St. Peter, gates of heaven with St. Peter, I should say. And then he is like kind of embarrassed when he tells St. Peter, like, I tried the broccoli again.
You have 23 hours left.
And then immediately the trapdoor opens again.
Homer decides, again, like not horror, very comedy.
It's all they're not even spoofing a horror element. So yeah, you're 100% right. There isn't horror in this episode. Mm-hmm. Maybe when people start slipping on ghost Slurpees, but like that's laughable comedy.
I feel like that part was thrown in, and I assume all those people die.
Mm-hmm. That's why it qualifies as a Treehouse of Horror.
Yep.
We don't see this part, but they're made into the school lunches again for some reason.
There you go.
See, that's like a dark episode. Like thinking about like how much darker these have been in the past. You're very, very correct. Homer takes a different approach this time, though. He decides that he's going to speak to Marge while she's sleeping, and for whatever reason, he does the like classic ghost voice where he's like, Marge Simpson.
Homer, it's you. I thought I'd never see you again.
You were wrong. Dead wrong.
Do you have to talk like that?
No, not really. Marge, you have to help me. I have to do one good deed to get into heaven. I love how quickly it just transitions. Like, he just decided that would be fun. You only get to be a ghost so often, right?
Yep. Well, I have a whole list of chores. Clean the garage, paint the house, grout the...
Fuck, I forgot. I have a new favorite joke. Whoa. I'm just trying to get in. I'm not running for Jesus.
And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. The Miles moments. You get one each and every week.
Already in the first season, or in the first episode of the season, I've already changed my favorite joke. I love this joke. To Homer's credit, I think this is the first time he's gotten Jesus' name actually correct. There's no B in this version.
Unless he's dead wrong.
Mm-hmm. But Homer is now on his mission to do an easy good deed. He doesn't want to have to like do chores like Marge wants or whatever, but he's literally like flying over the streets of Springfield looking for an opportunity. And he sees Agnes Skinner trying to cross the road and figures that's his chance. But immediately he has competition because a Boy Scout troop actually swoops in. And excuse me. A Boy Scout troop actually scoops in, and they actually get into like a competition to like who was going to help her. Homer like scoops in and picks up Agnes Skinner and takes her like unreasonably high into the sky for this task, for what it's worth. Mrs. Skinner starts to freak out. She's upset because people will be able to see through her slip, or through up her skirt if she slips or whatever. And Homer, like as she's like struggling, he ends up dropping her. And he just so happens to drop her right on the Boy Scouts of America's flagpole, which has one of those fancy points on it. According to the commentary, they actually had fully animated this out, like to have the full impact. And ultimately, they just decided it was too much and left it on the editing floor because it was just kind of crazy to see Agnes Skinner mauled by a flagpole.
But it's okay because Homer's got a way to cover himself so that he's in the clear on this. He's
speaking up to St. Peter and he's like, I'm pretty sure she was going to be the next Hitler. Good deed done.
So there, we finally have a horror element like 2/3 of the way through this segment.
Are you talking about the ghost squishies again? Because that's the scene that we're at next. Because Homer comes out of the Quickie Mart, which I want to know how the door opens for him.
I want to know how he actually eats broccoli as a ghost and drinks Slurpee as a ghost.
Well, we see that as he's drinking on the squishy, like literally it just falls through him, creating puddles. And then several townspeople, including Mrs. Krabappel and somebody else, walks up and slips.
And I assume they died.
Hmm? It's established canon that those characters will not be around moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's sad because one of them really is gone. But Homer sees another opportunity. He sees that Nelson is actually beating up his son in the alley, mocking him that your dad is dead, mine's just in jail.
Nelson.
Huh? Who said that?
I'm the ghost too.
And Nelson just grabs Ghost Homer out of the air and starts giving him the same noogie that he was giving. Yeah. He's giving him the same noogie that he was giving Bart moments before.
Bart, help!
I'm dying over here. Excuse me.
Broccoli?
I did. I accidentally munched on broccoli for lunch. That was my first mistake. Homer's starting to mope. He's sitting on the steps of the library, I believe it was. And he's just like, come on, I only have another minute to do a good deed. Above him on the stairs, a woman with a baby accidentally drops the stroller. It starts to like fly down the stairs. You take over for a second. I need a drink.
My baby. This baby carriage literally starts like shaking as it's going down the steps. This baby
is also crying his ass off, and Homer's like, can you shut up? I'm trying to think.
Man, I guess Miles doesn't need me to take over here then. Go ahead, take it back.
I'm interjecting. That's not taking over.
But yeah, it's only one thing Homer can do is to yell at the baby to get it to stop crying as it's rocking down the stairs. Stop that crying. Man, you're annoying. And literally picks the baby up out of the carriage as it rolls past him. And that carriage just goes all the way down into the street. There's cars coming to hit it. And everyone can just see this baby levitating for what it's worth as well, which is...
Yeah, no one freaks out about that either.
Yeah.
And also the carriage blows up when it gets hit by a car and just classic, everything goes into flame style. Oh, it's a miracle! Thank heavens!
Woohoo! And then Homer levitates back up into the clouds, back at the pearly white gates. Did you see that? I did the deed! Open up!
Oh, I'm so sorry. I wasn't looking.
Hey, I thought you guys could see everything.
No, you're thinking of Santa Claus.
Well, I'll be damned.
I'm afraid so, yes.
And then that trap door opens up yet again, and Homer falls all the way down to hell.
And we immediately get Homer. Well, actually, sorry, not immediately. First, we get Homer attempting to do his scary voice again. I am Homer Simpson.
Silence, sinner. Prepare for an eternity of horrible pain.
And this is a good joke, but I'm still standing by this. I'm going to gripe about this scene in a second. But Satan actually grabs Homer and starts giving him the noogie, just like Nelson did.
Ha ha.
Oh, be quiet. You'll wake up John Wayne.
I'm already a pilgrim. So why is Satan not Ned? I don't understand that.
That is my gripe as well. I want to say this is like the fourth different devil that we've seen in the show at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just the weakest incarnation yet. Even Ned Flanders was just like a cooler devil than this.
I think Ned Flanders is the devil's the best one.
I would, yeah. After saying that, I would agree with you. The Ned Devil is the best devil.
Yep.
The Nedville, if you will. But yeah, I kind of agree. I didn't hate this segment. It's funny.
No, you don't hate it. It's just,
but it doesn't have the magic. It feels like it could fit into almost any other Simpsons anthology, and it would have been just as relevant as it does in the Treehouse of Horror episode. I guess somebody dies, and that's why it qualifies.
Yeah, they had to add that quick little part in, and then all the heaven and hell stuff, I guess, where he ends up in hell. But I feel like no matter what kind of Simpsons episode it was, Homer would end up there anyways.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like where the comedy comes from, right?
Mm-hmm.
But according to this script, the time, including the opening segment of the Munsters, this was 6 minutes and 24 seconds. So one of the most rushed segments ever, I would say. Because, I mean, that Munsters opening had to be a minimum of 45 seconds, and I would say closer to a minute or even longer.
Yeah, and I know it is typical in Halloween episodes that the third segment is always the longest and the most fleshed out story. But even with that being said, it feels like the third segment gets a lot more time allotted to it in this one.
I guess we will find out as it's timestamped for us here in a bit. But before we get to our third story, we do have to cover our second story. And this one is Scary Tales Can Come True.
It can happen to you?
It can happen to you. This is pretty common. We basically map the Simpsons over like a classic fairy tale, and this one it's going to be Hansel and Gretel. We start out with the Simpsons are in a pumpkin-shaped cottage instead of their usual home. Everybody's got like peasant qualities and clothing about them, which we've talked about often. Anytime they do these episodes, it puts a lot more work on the animation department because they basically have to create all of this stuff from scratch.
Mm-hmm. And there's definitely a lot of new stuff to shoot. I think a lot of the episodes in this one a lot of the segments have new stuff you're going to have to animate. But definitely more in the second one than the third for sure.
I think the second one probably has the majority of the work because the first and the third still take place in Springfield. And yeah, they had to make like the aquarium and whatnot, but less than this one for sure.
And when they do the ocean, it's just like blue area with lots of lines in it. So this might not be as tough.
I do like that we kind of get this like play on the Simpsons themselves in that we get so many episodes of the Simpsons where it starts by the kids watching TV or sometimes the whole family watching TV. And in this case, Bart is actually watching the fireplace, but Marge is scolding him to not watch the fire because it's too violent.
And then I think Lisa's reading Grimm fairy tales.
She is reading Grimm fairy tales. That's absolutely correct. And when Homer, that's when Homer actually walks in the door. Hello, wife. Hello, children. Who's up for a merry jig? Dee-doo-doo-doo-doo. Dee-dee-doo-doo. Oh, I'm... He falls down. Who am I kidding? I'm not merry. I lost my job as an oaf today.
What? Why are the oafs always the first to go?
Maybe you could be a dunce, father.
Really?
And Homer actually tears a page out of Lisa's book, makes himself a dunce cap, sits himself in the corner, but when he bends over to ask his family what they think and if they love it, he accidentally catches catches his hat on fire, which then catches the house on fire.
Oh, I'm no dunce. I was born an oaf and I'll die an oaf.
But husband, without the meekly pittance, how shall we feed our children?
Don't worry. No child will ever starve in my home.
And you think that sounds like Homer's going to step up and take care of his kids, but his solution to not having a child ever starve in his home is to kick the children out of his home.
So long, kids. Enjoy your new home. Say hi to your other brother and sister.
And as Bart and Lisa are questioning that, they spot the skeletal, two skeletons that look just like Bart and Lisa.
Ah!
And Lisa's like, face it, they're not great parents.
So this is that classic thing that lots of people always talk about, where why do Bart and Lisa siblings and their skulls have their hairlines?
Oh yeah, that's true.
It's
so we can recognize them as skeletons. Duh.
Exactly, but after you see it, it doesn't really leave my mind ever, and I'm like, that is I have so many questions. Actually, just one. Why is it like that?
Yeah, that's true. And if that were the case, then wouldn't hair still just grow out of it, but just in a weird way? They just have weird skull disformations or whatever.
That just means that they have bones and no hair, I guess.
I guess so, yeah. Lisa is looking around and she's actually recognizing things from her book hidden in the forest all around them. For instance, there's a. Oh no, I'm jumping ahead. I was going to do the what's the lady with the long hair? Rapunzel.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not here yet.
Nope.
What does she see first?
They see a log bridge with a troll underneath it.
That's it. Yeah. Oh, and actually, I have a note on that that's kind of interesting. The troll idea is actually something that wouldn't really exist in the Grimm's fairy tale, because trolls are from Scandinavian folklore, and the Grimm's fairy tales were actually written by the Germans. So trolls are not something that actually would exist in the original fairy tales, but it makes for a good little joke here.
Nerd.
That's the job, bro.
Mm-hmm.
But Bart and Lisa do eventually stumble upon a cottage in the forest. They knock, and Bart declares themselves, "Hello, lost lovable orphans."
Bowls of porridge. Oh, this seems somehow familiar. Let's see.
Another joke I absolutely love. We haven't really given away, but they're in very clearly in the three or Goldilocks and the Three Bears situation. And they come across the porridge. Bart finds one that's too hot and then one that's too cold. And then he has a bowl and he's immediately like, well, it doesn't take a genius to figure this one out. And he just pours the hot and the cold together so he can comfortably eat a medium temperature bowl of porridge.
There you go.
This is when Lisa actually figures out herself that they're in the Three Little Bears' house. And they run and hide outside, locking the door with a chair from the kitchen, declaring wow, that was close.
I wonder where Goldilocks was.
And they cut back inside the house where Goldilocks is just waking up in a bed that was just right. But then she realizes that she's surrounded by three bears. And to her horror, this is the horror that we've been looking for so far in the Treehouse of Horror, because to her horror, the door is jammed shut with the chair from outside.
And then you see a pool of blood come out from under the door from the outside angle.
Yeah, so I don't think Goldilocks made it.
Or she killed all the bears.
Or she just became a woman.
Oh, God, Miles.
I don't like myself either. I'm sorry.
No.
Meanwhile, we cut back to the Simpsons pumpkin cabin where Homer is complaining that, boy, dumping your kids in the forest sure gets your hands dusty.
What? You threw our precious babies into the woods? We could have sold them.
And it cuts out. You think that Marge is going to be upset because her children got ditched in the woods, but no. We actually cut out and see that Marge has put a for sale sign on Maggie, basically offering Maggie for 2 chickens or best offer.
Go back and get them.
Here's a better idea. I know how we can replace those children.
It immediately cuts to him being outside calling for the Bart and Lisa.
I don't think he got the action he was looking for. Instead, he's back to action, looking for the kids he's already made. Son, daughter, I'm ever so sorry.
La 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 la.
This is the Rapunzel scene we were talking about. We basically see what would really happen if the story of Rapunzel happened, because when Rapunzel lowers her hair down, Homer attempts to climb it and ends up scalping her.
I wonder if her corpse is going to have her hair in her skull, but she doesn't have any.
She won't have any hair anymore. Yeah, that's true.
But technically, it should still look like that. It's part of her
Homer
skull.
just tosses her a long bit of hair and scalp under a bush and whistles away like Lisa did in the opening section. When this is where Bart and Lisa actually come upon a giant gingerbread house, much like Hansel and Gretel did in the Grimm's fairy tale. And just like in that story, we see a witch here inviting the kids in. Of course, there are plenty of other candies and other things inside, but Lisa's smart, so she decides she's going to check the book. But Bart doesn't have time for that. Meh, she seems nice. I'm going to go with my gut and trust her.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I think we then cut to the kids are now chained up and being poked by a broom and being told, sweep faster. It's almost time for your beating.
Oh, this is horrible.
Bart isn't really too sad about it. He's gorging himself on candy and even basting himself. Lisa points out, you're only being fattened up so she can eat you, right? But Bart's giving into it. And again, Lisa's like, you could at least stop basting yourself.
Stop your chattering and sweep. This house is filthy.
Oh, sorry. What do you care? It's not like you have friends.
I have a boyfriend.
Uh-huh, sure. Yeah.
I do.
Oh, really? What's his name?
George.
And then she starts looking around the room trying to find something to help her, and she lays her eyes on the cauldron.
Cauldron.
George Cauldron? Maybe he can fix me up with Ed Ladle.
That's it. Into the oven with you.
And the witch picks up Lisa and carries her to the oven. A couple things real quick on this. First of all, the witch is actually named after the writer's sister, which he says was done with love. But that was Don Payne who named the witch after his sister. And then this whole segment is actually a parody of a very famous moment in the Brady Bunch, where Jan is pretending to have a boyfriend. It's the episode "The Not So Ugly Duckling," which debuted in 1970, and that's where Jan makes up a boyfriend named George Glass. And kind of similar to the cauldron thing, she says George, and then when pressed by her sibling, she looks around the room and sees a glass of water and is like, George Glass. Only in that episode, the boyfriend really was fake, and that may not end up being the case with this one.
Good sell, Miles.
Did I leave that a mystery still?
No.
Okay. Moving on. Homer is on the hunt, and he comes upon, I don't even think he feels like he found his kids. He just found walls made of sugar, and he eats himself into the room.
Well, you're still inside the angle from the witch trying to throw Lisa into the cauldron, and all of a sudden the hole opens up in the wall behind him, and that's Homer's been eating his way into the house.
And Lisa declares out, I knew you'd rescue us.
Oh, rescue you, stuff myself with candy. It's all good.
And he keeps eating is the thing.
Ow.
And the witch gets scared. Oh no, that's a load-bearing candy cane, you clumsy oaf.
See, he's still an oaf, Miles.
He's doing his role. Yeah, Homer knows what's up.
Well, then she zaps him.
But like, it seems like she's trying to do some sort of spell to change him into animals, but it's not all one because he ends up with a fish head, donkey ears, and a chicken bottom.
Oh, right. So is that all you got? Huh?
And the witch grabs Homer and starts to shove him head first into the oven, where Homer at first is like, fish. Oh, shit, that's me.
Yes, that's exactly what he said.
Yeah, I was doing the unedited version.
Then ding dong, there's a ding dong doorbell going on.
And they use this distraction as the doorbell rings that Homer's able to turn the tables and actually force the witch into the oven. I think it's the kids are able to lock the door behind her. And we suddenly get like the witch calling out like very sincerely, "Oh God, no, let me out. I couldn't be in any more pain."
And to be fair, she was going to cook the kids in there, so.
Yeah, she's an evil person. I mean, she's getting her justice, but yeah. But to our surprise, we open the door to find a very handsome gentleman caller with flowers who announces himself, "Hello, I'm George Cauldron. Is Suzanne ready yet?"
Almost. Just give her another 20 minutes.
And he actually turns up the heat. And George is like, "Oh, but the concert's at 8." We cut back to the Simpsons home.
After the witch screamed for a little while too. At least like the camera angle is on Homer from the waist up, and he turns back into Homer.
Correct. Yeah. Thanks for clarifying. We think at least that he's fully recovered. We cut back to the pumpkin cottage where Marge has made dinner. It seems she points out that we're still poor, but thanks to your father, we'll never go hungry.
Speaking of which, how about seconds?
And Homer announces coming up before he walks over to the corner of the room where he's built a nest for himself, and he very painfully lays an egg, which becomes the family's dinner.
Yeah, honestly, when they first were like, "We'll never go hungry again," I thought they were eating a witch. I'm not going to lie.
That makes sense too, yeah. Though, I mean, you can only eat a witch for so long. She's going to go bad after a week or so in the fridge.
And that was going to be my question, and then I forgot that he was still a chicken.
Yep. We cut out on this one as the scene changes into like an illustration from a book, and then the end is written out across the page. That brings us to the end of our second act, which at this point we're at 12 minutes and 36 seconds into the episode. So that episode itself was also only a 6-minute section.
But that means it was longer than the first episode.
Yeah, because the first one had 6.5, but it was minus the opening. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings us to our third tale of the Treehouse of Horror 11, which is Night of the Dolphin. And on this one, we see that we open up at a aquarium, which has a sign that says "No longer educational," which I thought was funny. And they're watching like a dolphin show, essentially, which I'll say this episode again came out in the year 2000, which was long before the movie Blackfish came out. I want to say Blackfish came out. I'm gonna look it up, but I want to say Blackfish came out in like 2013. The whole aquarium, the whole SeaWorld thing is fucking awful. It really is. It's pretty gross, but I don't know that I for one was ignorant to that fact. I mean, in hindsight, I feel like an idiot because it's pretty common sense. But I don't think at the time that this would have been on anybody's radar of like how truly awful these things are, or at least not on the average person's radar of how truly awful these things are. But I just wanted to mention that up top that like this one like is horrific in its like own special sort of way. But it does open up with like a SeaWorld style show where at the end they actually announce anybody who wants to come frolic with Snorky the dolphin to raise their hand. But instead, in Springfield style, everybody just rushes into the tank. And like you can immediately see that Snorky is like very overwhelmed with the amount of people that are invading his space.
There's one person that sympathizes with Snorky.
Of course, Lisa Simpson notices how upset this dolphin looks and like immediately connects. Like they make eye contact. She's as you mentioned, very sympathetic. And as the announcer mentions, folks, we're heating up the lobster tank, so hurry on over if you want to pet them before you eat them, which dissipates the crowd. Lisa hangs behind And we actually see that Snorky is kind of motioning towards the gate, which is dangerously close to the real ocean for what it's worth. Like, I don't know that would ever work. And also only has one simple latch that an 8-year-old girl can reach and undo that allows Snorky to have its free willy moment with an additional slap to the face of her freer, Lisa. She gets a tail fin to the face, but Snorky is free.
It's still better than the not the X-rated version of Free Willy, but the director's cut of Free Willy that Homer saw when he was on jury duty.
They mentioned that in the commentary that this is kind of their second time going to that well for this joke, but it fit really nicely here. We see that as the dolphin's getting away too, Homer actually yells out, "It's getting away! Kill it!"
God.
And like we see like the I guess like the security team for the aquarium is like shooting spear guns at it, but each one of them misses by just a few inches.
Lucky for Snorky.
Snorky immediately rejoins his family of dolphins, it seems, and we start hearing like dolphin sounds, but fortunately for us, they put subtitles at the bottom. And we see that it appears that Snorky was actually some sort of royalty because he's addressed as Your Majesty.
Yeah, so they were using him as a jester.
And they complained that they're making him do tricks like a common seal.
It's time to gather the troops, Miles.
Snorky does actually declare revenge on the humans, and we cut to Lenny, who's doing one of his favorite, very common activities, alcohol and night swimming, a winning combination.
Especially in horror movies, that always pans out. I mean, pretty
quickly we see that we see a bunch of dorsal fins pop out of the water and start surrounding Lenny too. At first he's like, "Oh no, sharks, the assassins of the sea." But then he realizes, "Oh, you're not sharks, you're dolphins, the clowns of the sea."
Ooh, famous last words, Lenny.
But they begin to strike Lenny. He's like, "Ow, ow, hey, what's the gag here?" Then, they actually like take him they literally like kill him. They bottle nose him to death.
Poor Lenny. At least he got to compliment Homer one time.
It's true. Fortunately, though, Springfield's finest is on the case. Bottlenose bruises, blowhole burns, flipper prints. This looks like the work of rowdy teens. Lou, cancel the prom.
Then it pans out, and somebody's watching from the docks.
It seems like... Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's old Captain McAllister, and he seems to know exactly what's going on.
It seems like for a moment, like we might have the hero we need. Like Springfield, like has a member of its like residency that is perfectly fit for this exact issue.
I feel like he's more of like the old man that you don't want to go down that road.
See, I was getting kind of like Jaws vibes for the obvious on this one, but yeah. But unfortunately, while he's basically revealing that he knows exactly what's happening and he's giving a soliloquy about the whole situation, dolphins jump out of the water and take him out as well. Buddy. Yeah.
One goes from the left, one goes from the right, one goes high, one goes low, and they just snap him in half.
And all I see is the captain's hat and pipe as he falls. No, one of them, the dolphins actually puts on the captain's hat and like has his pipe to do an impression.
I'm the sea captain. When I do my alphabet, I always get lost at sea.
We actually see next that the dolphins have like formed like a militia, it would seem, and they're actually marching up the beach in like a military style formation, which actually got some of the best commentary moments from this episode were during this segment with Carolyn Omine, who is on the commentary. They really had a hard time like getting across what exactly they wanted in the animation department for the like tail marching specifically. And it just never came out right, to the point where Carolyn Omine actually had to go down to the animation and personally demonstrate what she wanted them to do. And that's how they were able to achieve this animation, which props to her improv background on that one.
So she had to walk around like a dolphin. Gotcha.
Yeah. I think it's also worth noting that they brought in legendary voice actor Frank Welker, who is known for literally hundreds of different voices and characters that he's created, but probably most famously, he's known as the voice of Scooby-Doo.
Oh, nice.
Which makes a lot of sense that, he could mimic dolphin sounds.
Ruh-roh.
I do like that one of the dolphins, as they're marching up the beach, runs into a volleyball net and immediately freaks out. It's a trap! They've got nets!
And then slap! Get yourself together, man.
We see at the Krusty Burger drive-thru, Homer is in the middle of his order.
2 Krusty Shakes, a donut burger with cheese, and party-sized bucket of flan.
We hear through the intercom speaker, instead of the squeaky voice teen, we get the squeaky voices of dolphins. But for some reason, Homer is still able to interpret and understand what they're saying.
Yes, I will have fries with that.
He pulls up to the window where we actually see the dolphin is like propping up the pimple face squeaky voice teen.
Weekend at Bernie's.
Yes, that's exact. I was literally going to say Weekend at Bernie's style. And he's like using him as a puppet to hand Homer his food. But unfortunately, the kid's head falls into Homer's lap.
Anything to get out of work.
It's almost like Homer was inspired to try that next time he doesn't want to be at the plant.
Ooh.
We cut to the nightly news where Kent Brockman reports our top story: killer dolphins.
Killer dolphins?
The recent wave of murders. And immediately Brockman is cut off by actual dolphins who are now threatening and holding the cameraman hostage. He's holding up a sign that's it's like the cue card guy is holding up a sign that says "Save me," and Brockman is trying to backpedal. Did I say killer dolphins? I meant killer Italians. Yes, gray, bottle-nosed, intelligent Italians.
Intelligent Italians? Something's wrong.
We have to stop them. If we speak in low-frequency voices, I don't think they can. No, but then his head is
at that point. Brockman's actually like whispering into the camera. So
you're right. Yeah, he's trying to like get the message across, but he's immediately decapitated by a beach ball.
Oof.
And then like repeatedly struck by it before the dolphin turns in the camera and throws the ball into the camera.
That was actually kind of a cool little animation moment. I felt like.
Very much so. They did mention on the commentary here as well that Italians were just like a group of people that they felt comfortable going after often on The Simpsons, which I do think is kind of interesting because as of yesterday, as we record this podcast, they announced the Mario Brothers movie voice actors, and people are losing their mind that Chris Pratt is going to play Mario.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Him and Charlie Day are playing
Luigi.
Italians. So we'll see. I don't know. We'll see how it works out.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm not a big Chris Pratt fan personally, but I understand like a lot of people are like, why wouldn't you get like the guy who does Mario's voice? And even the guy that does Mario's voice, whose name is slipping my mind right now, is an older fella, but he's even on record said like he only really does well with Mario's voice in short doses. Like he wouldn't be able to like follow lines in a script keeping that voice up the entire way, because really he's just like, it's a Mario, like it's not like a lot of dialogue for the games.
All right, Miles, I'm gonna take you to Talking Like Mario school, and this is not to offend any Italian audience members out there. This is just on a strictly Mario speaking base.
And we officially canceled in Italy. Thank you, Richie.
Yeah, if you want to sound like Mario, you just add an A to the end of every word you're saying, and it'll work. So, if you add an A at the end of everything you say, it'll make you sound like Mario.
All right, if Chris Pratt's listening, we just gave you all the advice you need to handle this new role. You have anything for Jack Black, who's going to be playing Bowser?
Just be Jack Black.
Yeah, honestly, that's what I was going to say. No matter what you said, I'm like, you're wrong. Just be Jack Black. You're already Bowser.
I feel like he's the one that I don't have to worry about in this scenario.
Honestly, same. I feel pretty good about him in that role. And honestly, I kind of like the idea of Seth Rogen being Donkey Kong. I can get behind that as well.
I guess he's eating those bananas is like smoking the bananas. I don't know.
We'll count it. That works.
I'm interested to see Michael Key or whoever is playing
Toad.
Like that's an interesting choice there. Like I feel like it'll be funny, but it's going to be weird hearing his voice come out of Toad.
I mean, it's interesting in general, just that Nintendo is allowing another Mario Brothers movie to be made at all after what happened the last time. But I think it's far overdue in so many ways.
Mm-hmm. It's their biggest franchise, so
easily,
they'll make a lot of money. I've talked to a few people that are incredibly excited about the movie. I'm talking about like months and months ago when it was first announced. So those people have kids, they'll be buying a lot of tickets to go to the movies to see it, and that's kind of the point.
Yeah, I mean, it's not for us, even though it is.
Yeah, who cares about what a bunch of almost 40-year-olds think about a movie because of that?
Oof, dude, bro, low blow.
I mean, we were in the key demographic stage, but yeah.
I know what you mean. Back to the Dolphins, who seem to be bent on mayhem. The kids decide they've got to warn Grandpa, so Homer dials on the phone, but he's like, phone's off the hook. Everything must be okay.
This is maybe the most like morbid shot of the episode. I don't know for me.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. Maybe when it comes through groundskeeper Willie later, but Grandpa's like being eaten whole by a dolphin at the retirement castle.
Didn't it remind you of like a Freddy Krueger scene or something?
Yeah, literally from the third movie where he's like swallowing Kristen up as like Snake Freddy. Which, fun fact on that puppet had to be covered with like brown sludge because it was a pink puppet and it looked like a dick on screen when they first did it. So when they first shot that scene, it basically looked like a giant penis was eating Kristen, and they had to like cover it with like sludge so that it looked more like Freddy Krueger and less like an actual human penis.
Oh. The censors are going to cancel us for this.
And I think Freddy Krueger is definitely going to be a future best darn everything topic now that we bring it up. Oh, we should just October. We should just do horror franchises. We'll talk about it. All right. As Abe is threatening to give that dolphin such a liver punching, Quimby is trying to get some calm at the Springfield Town Hall. People, please, we're all frightened and horny. But we can't let some killer dolphins keep us from living and scoring. Willie must. It turns out that it's actually Willie like squeegeeing the windows, and Quimby's like, "You have to do that now."
You want streaks? Because if you interrupt me, that's what you'll get.
And just then, Willie is interrupted himself by a dolphin plunging not only through the window he's cleaning, but through Willie's chest, almost like alien style, but like coming from the back and all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
And then dolphins basically like come through and take over the town hall meeting. And one of them actually goes up to the podium, and Sideshow Mel is like, "Surely it cannot speak."
Snarky. Talk, man. I'm sorry, let me start over. Eons ago, dolphins lived on the land.
And at this point, Mo can... What did he say?
He said years ago, dolphins lived on the land.
What?
Then your ancestors drove us into the sea, where we suffered for millions of years.
But you seem so happy in the ocean, all playful and leaping.
We were trying to get out. It's cold. It's wet. Every morning I wake up phlegmy.
And then Lisa points out, plus all that sewage that we keep dumping in there.
That was you?
And then Homer immediately throws his daughter under the bus. It was her, all right. He holds up Lisa. Take the one who wronged you.
I, King Snorky, hereby banish all humans to the sea.
The crowd is getting mad, like pushy dolphins. I don't like that.
And they're all walking out of the town hall right now.
Mo again.
I tuned out. Where are we going?
Homer is trying to get the crowd like organized before they leave. Wait, stop! We can outsmart those dolphins. Don't forget, we invented computers, leg warmers, bendy straws, peel and eat shrimp, the glory hole, and the pudding cup. I'm not going to let a bunch of hoop jumping tuna munching push me around. But when he opens the rear doors, he sees that there are hundreds of more dolphins outside. And this is very much a scene paying homage to the birds. How
I like this scene.
Yeah. We cut through the town. It's like eerily quiet. The wind is blowing, and you just see dolphins everywhere.
And you're having to do that slow walk, just like in the birds, where you're walking through all of them.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're literally having to like move through the crowds, and at any moment it feels like they could reach out and like kill them if they wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
They're all like kind of complaining, like, oh my God, there's so many of these. But even Lisa in this moment is still trying to be an ally because she sees a baby dolphin with a six-pack ring on its nose, and she tries to help it out.
Oh no, you poor thing! Here,
Clap! And it bites her.
Ow, son of a!
And then Homer gets in. Hey, leave my daughter alone. But that's the last straw. He was
trying to give her up a few minutes ago, like seconds ago, and now he's trying.
Now
to
he's defending her. Yeah. So Homer jumps up on the base of Jebediah Springfield to try to rally the humans again one more time. He notes that we've wiped out entire species of humans before. We can do it again. The dolphins, though, very easily overwhelm and beat down the humans. It's not even.
This
close,
is like a full-on
honestly.
war scene where both crowds are like running to each other.
They're full on fighting, but it's like not even a fair fight. Like the dolphins are just they're dolphin handling the humans.
Homer is about to bite the dust too. This dolphin has him dead to rights.
They try to like push the dolphins back to the ocean, but it very.
You're gonna cut that part off? Like Homer's about to die, and then Miles' favorite hero shows up.
My mistake. Bart does show up to save his father by slingshotting a cork into the dolphin's air hole. That's when Homer thinks that they have a moment where like they could actually turn this thing around. He cries out, "We should drive them back to the ocean!" But almost immediately we can tell that it backfired because the next thing we see, the whole Simpsons family in their typical style is sitting around their living room. Only in this case, their living room is floating in the ocean.
Hey, you got to hand it to those dolphins. They just wanted it more.
Lisa's like, yeah, I kind of wish I hadn't freed their leader and, doomed mankind.
Oh, honey, I wouldn't say doomed. It's going to be an adjustment, no question. And
then you can see Marge starts to she's disgusted because the body of Krusty the Clown floats into the middle of their living room, we'll call it. And she gets disgusted and pokes him away or kicks him away or whatever. And Krusty's body actually floats out in the ocean where a whole pile of human bodies spells out the end. But is it because again, Krusty was actually the dot of the question mark at the end, and we actually cut out now to pan out to a scene of Kang and Kodos' spaceship. Kang is like, "Can you believe it, Kodos? They left us out of the Halloween show."
Are you sure the space phone is working?
He picks it up and tries it, but immediately is like, "Hang up! They could be trying to call right now."
I knew we should have sent them a muffin basket.
Ring, 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 ring.
King and Kodos Productions. Yes. Just a second. Do we want to do a commercial for something called Old Navy?
Meh. Work is work. And that brings us to the end of our our third act and the episode Treehouse of Horror 11. And if you're wondering, Old Navy, yes, we are interested in doing a commercial for you or any other company that's willing to pay. But that's
I don't know. Their website charged me a bunch of fees a few weeks ago, and I didn't actually ever buy anything from their website or even go on their website. So I feel like you owe us, Old Navy.
Yeah, you owe us a job as your the new voice of your company. When's the last time Old Navy was relevant? I haven't shopped there since high school. I don't know. Do they still sell things?
Apparently they do because I got charged for it.
Well,
thank you, Wells Fargo, for helping me out with that. Now I would gladly sponsor Wells Fargo for protecting my money.
As Richie put out, if you want to sponsor two nearly 40-year-olds to be the hip face of your company, then we're your guys.
What? We need a new hip?
What do you say? But the only other difference is we get the Treehouse of Horror melody going out, and instead of the usual shh at the end of the Nancy Grace logo, we get a frightened scream this time. But that's going to do it for Treehouse of Horror 9. Richie, do you or that book of yours have anything else that you want to talk about?
Not the strongest Halloween episode for sure. I have said already, the first story was very, very short. It was funny, but it was very, very short. The second story, honestly, just kind of bored me. If they did not add Homer at the end of the second story, I feel like it would have been even more boring. So like Homer saved the second story. And then easily the third one was the best story in my opinion, because it's the one that felt the most horror. And
yeah, it's like the birds or like Day of the Dead or whatever.
Yeah, and I just enjoyed the story too. I thought it was an interesting idea. So the third one I feel like saved the episode from being just like
completely meh.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fair. I mostly agree with all of that. I think that the second story I liked a little bit more than you did. It sounds like I enjoy. I think here's what I'll say is if they had done a more traditional horror first act, I'm okay with that. I'm going to like the fairy tales. It kind of reminds me of the first time out when they did The Raven. Just something a little bit different that's not in that like true, what we say is conventional horror, but because their first segment was so off, it did just kind of like change the tone of the Treehouse of Horror episode in general.
I gotcha. I feel like The Raven was a lot more fun and a lot more of like.
I wasn't trying to say that it was even anywhere close. I was just trying to say that it kind of felt like it was in that same vein, if you will, that same style, just making it something different that's more classic literature than like Hollywood horror.
I gotcha.
Other than that, though, I will say that according to IMDb, this is the 5th time Groundskeeper Willie has died in a Treehouse of Horror episode. He's died in all 3 stories from Treehouse of Horror 5 and then once in 6. But then he's gotten a few years off because he's now died for the 5th time in season 11. I'm sorry, Treehouse 11 in season 12. And then the last thing I'll say is I think we might not be the only ones that agree that Dolphin segment was the best part of the episode, because the Dolphin segment of this episode actually became a level in the Simpsons game that was released all the way back. I want to say that was like Wii, PS2, maybe PS3 era. I know for sure it's on the Wii because that's what I have it on, but that became a level of the Simpsons game where you actually had to contend with the Dolphin outbreak.
Are you talking about Hit and Run?
No, it's literally the Simpsons game.
Oh, I completely forgot about that one. I think you're in the Chocolate Land on the first level or something like that.
It's been forever, but that one's more level based game. It's not like Hit and Run, which was like open world, or Road Rage, which was like Crazy Taxi.
Yeah,
it was of the Simpsons games that come out on like the more like disc based eras, we'll say, of gaming.
There you go. You're about to say modern. That's going to laugh.
That's not going to happen unless we get that remake of Hit and Run finally. But no, like on disc-based era, I think the Simpsons game is probably the one that got most just like forgotten. It wasn't a bad game. It just didn't stand out like Road Rage or Hit and Run did.
Or the wrestling game for being terrible.
That one was truly awful. Same with the skating, honestly. They basically did like a Tony Hawk parody with Simpsons characters, and it was almost as bad as the boxing. But that is going to do it for this week's Best Darn Diddly Review show. As always, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us, coming in for a brand new season of our nonsense, reviewing these classic episodes of The Simpsons and beyond. Hey, if you have a second, make sure you follow Richie at @thewiz_kid23.
Make sure you follow Miles at Mr. Most Days Off. But most importantly, follow our show. It's at Best Darn Diddly. That's DIDDLY.
I'm going to go ahead and make a couple of announcements. We'll probably get this messed up because I'm being too optimistic here. But we got a bunch of great shows lined up for you coming up. This next show we're going to do is going to be a Best Darn Everything covering Sonic the Hedgehog. Then we're going to be following that with A Tale of Two Springfields, the first actual episode from season 12. Actual episode sounds harsh. It's just the first like canon episode, I guess we'll say, or non-anthology. And then following that, an episode that I'm very excited for. We'll be back again for a Best Darn Everything covering the wonderful game of Survivor, which just started its 41st season this last Wednesday.
All right, we are gonna be raring to go here pretty soon. Oh, I guess you want me to have an outline right here. I felt like you had more to say there, Miles. But, it's... Whoa, Miles. I'm just trying to do a podcast here. I'm not running for Joe Rogan.
That was perfect. And until next time, be cromulent to each other.